Recording is going to start for the show right now. Well, hi everyone. Welcome to eLearnChat. I believe this is episode 80. I may be wrong, but I think it's 80. Right next to me is, right over there. I can see her right there. Is Dawn Mahoney.
Hi, everybody.
You know, we have a special camera. I'm looking at her right now, and she is only about 2,000 miles from us?
Something like that. Maybe 1,500.
Down up in warm, sunny Wisconsin.
It is a beautiful day. Snow's melting, so it's warm.
You guys haven't had a lot of cold this year.
Nope, not much at all. It's really pretty out right now.
Yeah. And for all those in the chat room and also watching the show recording, this is going to be our last show of the year.
Ooh,
and then we are back on the 9th of January. What is it? The 9th, I think, of January. So enjoy the break, and we will be back with all sorts of guests next year.
And here I'm back in town, Rick.
You'll be back in town?
Yeah, I could have done the show next week.
Oh, we might do a show. But I think
let's do a show.
All right, we'll do a show. You know what? We'll be back after next week. Well, actually, we'll be back next week, and then we'll be on break till the 9th. There we go.
That sounds good.
She's really good at twisting arms, I tell you. She's one tough cookie. Hey, we've got a cool guest today. He's a good friend, and it's funny. Another person I met through Twitter, and who I just kind of felt an affinity for. It's really funny. I don't know. I keep thinking that Twitter is really magical. It's like a magical portal into this world, and somehow you meet people that you know and you like. I mean, Dawn, you and I met through Twitter.
That's right.
And
we had some connectors too, but yes.
We did, but it's just really cool how, whether it's through a connector or just somebody who follows you or you're following somebody, yeah, magic happens.
Yeah. I haven't looked this week how many followers I have since the Open Sesame Top 100 came out. It was 700 and some last week.
Wow, that's good.
So. Be more.
Well, anyway, I met Renaldo on Twitter, and we kind of hit it off. It's funny, just through a couple of tweets here and there. I just go, I don't know why, but I like this guy. I like his smile. I like what he does, and we started talking, and I liked him even more. Last year, he asked me to. He wanted to get into voiceover, and he said, well, would you mind listening to some of my stuff? No, that'd be great. I love doing stuff like that. And so we started talking about voiceover. He sent me some samples. And I found out that Renaldo has what I consider a beautiful voice for storytelling. He's a natural storyteller. And that's such a cool thing because, you know, we have a lot of good radio guys and a lot of good narrators. We don't have a lot of good storytellers. And so I'm hoping he pursues that and continues in that vein. But hey, let's introduce him. Renaldo Lawrence. He's in England. How are you, Renaldo?
I'm extremely well, thank you. Thanks for the invitation. I'm very honored to be on your show. It's really a privilege.
Our pleasure.
We're glad you're here.
Well, Renaldo, you've done all sorts of cool things. Now, for those who don't know, Renaldo is an Adobe Education Leader. That means he is at the higher end of Adobe training. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. He's at the higher end of Adobe's training, and about once a year he comes out to Adobe in San Jose, and they do whatever they do. You can tell us a little bit about what you do, but Renaldo was also with the LA Clippers some time ago in his not-so-distant youth. And he played with the LA Clippers. He also traveled quite a few places around the world, not only playing, but coaching and teaching basketball. And he's a natural trainer. And he wound up with media and Adobe and all sorts of other good stuff. And tell us a little bit about your son's experience. I think that's a real fun one.
Yeah, I've been really privileged. I've had the opportunity to do something that I've loved, and then the opportunity to not fall off, but to just walk into something else that I love even more, and that's helping people. I have a son who played here. He was born here in the UK. Andrew's 22. He's now at the College of Charleston. And Andrew had the really good fortune of being good enough to play in the Olympics this past time that the Olympics was here. And he's also been voted one of the top 50 point guards in America. So we're very pleased, very privileged, and very blessed to have things happening for him. there. So, and he plays on the national team here, which is really great.
Very great.
But there's even something.
Go to Charleston next year. I'll have to check him out, see what's going
Yeah,
on.
please do. I can't wait. I'm coming home in February. I'm coming home in Feb for, he's got his senior night. And then in March, he has the tournament. So I'm going to try to get over to see him because this is his last go around. And a very interesting story is that you know how blessings come about. But my mom has been here once. And when the kids were growing up, they hardly got a chance to see her. They would speak to her on the phone. But, he's now an hour and 20 minutes from my mom. My mom visits him just about every single game, and he actually gets up to see her a lot. So God has a great sense of humor. So it's fantastic.
That's great.
And there's one other thing that I find a really cool story, and that is that Renaldo had a real special coach when he was in South Carolina. Was it in South Carolina?
Well, in North Carolina, Appalachian State.
Real special coach. Yeah. And what happened with that coach?
Now, that's an interesting story because what happened was when we were trying to get Andrew in school, and I took Andrew to Bobby Crimmins, and Bobby coached me at Appalachian State. And I said to Bobby, this kid can play, and no one knows who he is. So, you need to give him an opportunity. And Bobby said to me, Renaldo, no one knows who he is. So we let things went. He came back, and through some other connections, I got him into a prep school in Virginia. And he played really, really well. So well that he was recruited by some of the big schools throughout the country. So they started recruiting him. But the interesting thing is that no one knew he was my son. But it just didn't click to them. So when they finally found out he was my son, Bobby phoned me and he started, asking me various questions. And I told him, look, Coach, I gave him to you. You told me you didn't know. So it ended up going really well. Ended up with Andrew being there. And Bobby's a great, great, great life teacher. He's a great person. And he's somebody who I consider to be a father figure. And I was fortunate enough that he played 3 years for Bobby. He has another coach now, but very fortunate that he played 3 years for Bobby. So it's been good. It's been really great.
But isn't it amazing that 2 generations go through the same coach? I think that's cool.
Phenomenal. Even more phenomenal is that Bobby is such a great human being. And, for me to have the opportunity to let my son play for him is just, it's wonderful. Because he's going to be taken care of. He's going to be looked after. All the lessons that are needed to live life once you finish doing what you do in terms of the sporting world. He's going to learn. So it was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Those are cool stories. It's those are coincidences that don't happen that often.
No, they don't. They don't.
So tell us, how'd you get into Adobe?
Wow, now that's a different story. What happened was I was a PE teacher, okay, and I got my degree from Appalachian. I got my degree with PE as a major and broadcasting as a minor, and I was teaching PE. Funny enough, I was teaching PE in an all-girls school in London. And what happened was I was in a room one day with the network manager, a guy called Glenn Cole. And Glenn he had 2 programs on the screen, and we were talking. He had a program called PhotoDraw and Microsoft Word. And he dragged an image from PhotoDraw into Word, and it literally blew my mind. I was like, whoa. So that next week, I went out and I bought a laptop. And how things would have it, I started teaching myself to use it by going to the library. What then happened was 2 weeks after that, that whole process started, the girl who was the head of IT at my school actually said to me, look, no one knows this yet, but I'm pregnant and I'm going to be off within a year. So if you want the job, I suggest that you start doing things now. So what I did was I went to every single faculty within the institution, in the school, and I asked them if they could have an internet or intranet site, what would they like? So I got these sketches that I did from every single department. It was something like about 15 departments. And to teach myself how to use the computer, I built something for every department. So when the job came up, it was a natural that I got the job. So I got the job. Then my son was born. And then I left and I came down to where I am now. And what happened was when Macromedia when Adobe was still Macromedia, I met a guy called Mark Green, and I asked him, just for a box of software, and he told me that he couldn't do it now because they didn't have an educational department. So 2 years later, I went to another trade show at Olympia in London, and they had an education department in the UK by then. So he gave me a box. I created some stuff. He loved it. And then he introduced me to Megan Stewart. And once that happened, Megan was in charge of education worldwide. And then things just snowballed from there. And because of that, I then became an advanced skills teacher here, which puts me in the top 3% of all teachers in the UK. I became an Apple Distinguished Educator and a Microsoft Innovator Teacher and Teacher Developer. So, it's just from something that came out of nothing. And it's something that I really enjoy doing and helping other people. And I go into a lot of schools and help a lot of teachers. And I not only help them develop, but I develop for them, develop resources for them, so which is really cool. And we develop a lot of stuff that we let kids share. We're doing a lot of iPad stuff, a lot of Android stuff. And the beautiful thing about this, man, is that I am self-taught, so I can't ever forget this stuff. So that's fantastic.
That's great. And how did you become an Adobe Education Leader?
Well, they liked what I was doing, and they asked me whether I would be interested. I went out to the States to meet them, and they loved what we were doing, and that was pretty much it. They usually there's a process you go to. They just said, "Do you want to be one?" I said, "Yes," and that was it.
That's great. That's great.
So that was cool.
Now, do you know Christy Fedora?
I've seen her on some forums. I've seen her like on the site, but I don't know her personally. I've never met her. No,
because I think she's a liaison, if I'm not wrong, for training and all that from Adobe to. I think she's in England. I mean, in London, but I'm not sure exactly.
I don't think I've met her. I'm not sure.
And isn't she on the corporate side? I could be wrong.
She may be. She may be.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of what I do here is dealt through a lady called Liz Wilkins, and Liz is head of marketing here in the UK.
Oh, great.
So
that's pretty good. Now, you've worked with a lot of the different Adobe products. Which ones are your favorites? I know you've done the video, you've done audio, you've done a lot of graphics. What do you like doing better?
I love all of them, man, because what Adobe has done, Adobe has actually forged out a career for me. I love Premiere. I love After Effects. I love Captivate. I love the DPS system. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's any of their products, mainline products that I don't use. And then with them bringing out, Muse, and then yesterday with the creative announcement that they are going, with the Creative Cloud, that you can create mobile content with Muse.
Yeah, and that's actually pretty. It'll be adaptive, so you can create adaptive websites. And have you done a lot with Muse yet?
No, I have not done. I tell you what I've been working with, though. I've been working a lot with PhoneGap.
Oh, okay.
That's been really nice because of the process that you don't have to worry about creating and stuff. You can you build it and then you upload it to PhoneGap and shoot it out, man, and then you can distribute it, And I'm trying to get my head around the Apple side of things because it's a lot more stringent and with that. So I've done all the certificates and stuff, and now I'm about to submit some stuff to the iTunes store in about maybe a month or so.
Now, I tell you, if you're into e-learning and you want to develop websites, which sometimes you need to do to support your e-learning, Muse is a great way to go. It's easy to learn. It doesn't take that long to really come up to speed on. It's pretty powerful, actually. And you can incorporate other HTML with it. And the nice thing is, as hard as Dreamweaver is for most people, Muse is easy. And I have a feeling at one point or other, Muse is going to wind up becoming maybe their top development tool for what you never know. It's kind of interesting. That's my theory.
Yeah, Muse is a wonderful program, man. But give me Dreamweaver any day.
Want the power?
I like control.
Well, it's been around quite a while too.
And it writes great code. I mean, it does well, and especially with the CS5 enhancements. The HTML5 enhancements is absolutely brilliant. As you could add all the the HTML5 stuff in, but just a click. And there's a learning curve, but then it depends on what you want to do. And if you want to be great and you want to succeed and you want to do things that are really fantastic, you need to go with the best products. And I just think that in terms of the web, those guys have some unbelievable products.
So I have a question or two out here for you if you're ready to take questions.
Sure.
So Leva joined us. It's late for her as well. She's in Belgium. And
Right.
she mentioned that Christy is now responsible for the community side.
Oh, okay.
Adobe. But the question is, what are you thinking about Team Creative Cloud? And she mentioned that the new functionalities in Photoshop are great.
Okay, I love Creative Cloud. And one of the reasons I love Creative Cloud is because using some of the tools for the iPad, we use Proto a lot. And Proto is the web developmental tool that you can then put in the cloud and drop, bring off into Dreamweaver and work with. And I use it a lot with development with my students. So I love it. I also love the cloud because I'm able to share a lot of the content that I have with other people. And the other reason I love the cloud is because they give you 20 gig. Well, you get 20 gig straight off the bat, which is fantastic. And they just announced the ability to have teams within the cloud, which is unbelievable, which is really, really nice. And I think what they have done also, which makes it really nice, is that they have managed to make it a simple process. And it's not, very complicated to just set up the teams. Now, Photoshop, to me, the thing that blew my mind about Photoshop that I loved is you're now in video. Once you import video into Photoshop, you're able now to put a blur on the video.
Interesting.
So
okay.
It's amazing.
So it does it frame by frame?
It does it frame by frame.
Yep.
But it's just, once you put the blur on, you have the controls on the video, and you can set the controls of whatever depth you want, and it just plays, and then you export it out as whatever you want. So it's fantastic. I think Adobe, the thing that I admire about Adobe is that I think that they were in trouble for a split second, and they've really rebounded really well with the cloud. I think I think they're doing a fabulous job.
Well,
And I'm not
Adobe's
saying
funny. They get in trouble all on their own. That's the funny thing about Adobe. They don't need any help from anybody. And then all of a sudden they rebound, but it's funny because they usually get themselves into the big mess. And yeah, they're an interesting company. They do have some good innovative stuff, though.
There's some amazing stuff.
Remember, we're live, Rick. Remember, we're live.
Oh, no, I'm the same way. Live, dead, or whatever.
How do you think you'll use the Team Cloud bit that they've just announced, Renaldo?
I think at the moment with the Team Cloud, I'm primarily going to use my brother is a videographer, and he does a lot of weddings, and he does a lot of DSLR stuff. So what I'm trying to do is get into not the wedding field, but using the DSLR cameras. So I'm going to share a lot of stuff with him. I think in terms of the environment that I'm in all the time, schools are a different beast because schools tend to be very slow in adopting new technology. I mean, One reason is financially. But, I think primarily with my brother, and because I do a lot of stuff now, mobile stuff, and I do a lot of iPad stuff and Android stuff for some clients. So I think, communicating with them possibly is how I would use it.
I think corporate's slower to adopt than schools. I typically notice friends that are teachers have things far ahead of what we are able to have in a large organization.
Dawn, what's wrong with XP?
You laugh, but I just got rid of that about 6 weeks ago.
It's really scary in a lot of places, yeah.
My laptop was working fine. There was no reason to replace it until one day it wasn't.
XP, you must admit, XP was pretty good.
It wasn't bad. It was one of the more stable releases. I mean,
exactly.
It beat ME and all that kind of stuff. And but I just went to Win 8 at work. I'm the guinea pig.
I love it.
You know what? I'm loving it too. I love the Metro interface. I switch back and forth naturally, or within a week. I've had it for a week, and in my week, I've already grown to really enjoy it.
Rick, day before yesterday, it's the first time I picked up my PC before I picked up my Mac within a year because of Windows 8.
You want to hear something funny? I moved my iMac over to another desk, and now my Windows 8 machine is my main machine. So I'm kind of in the same. I'm actually liking it, and it's fast.
I love it. I love it.
And
I
it's
can't
actually,
believe how fast it loads up.
it takes about 15 seconds, and you got Windows up and running.
Yeah.
Well, you know what they've done.
Stuff's going on in the background, but it's fantastic.
Well, what they've done is all the stuff is loading now in the background as you need it versus loading the whole kit and caboodle up front.
Can I just mention
Yeah.
Apple did that a long time ago?
Well, no, true. I mean, true. That is true. Apple has always been more efficient as far as loads,
Oh yeah,
but Windows
the-
is caught up. I'd say they're faster right now.
Yeah, the other thing, and they are fast. I've done tests. They are faster. The other thing that I love is the accessibility route of what they've done. They've made everything easier for accessibility.
That's true.
So
That's true.
in terms of the screen reader and everything, is much more easily accessible, and I think it's good. It's good. Because I teach a lot about accessibility within school with the projects that my kids do, so it's quite important to me that they understand, that they are not just the only people on this earth.
Yep.
That there are other people that have issues that they need to be dealt with, and we need to have the machines and stuff to help people along. So I think they've done a great job with accessibility.
That's one of my biggest pet peeves: the fact that designers today seem to have two colors, light blue and light gray, on either white backgrounds, and it's like, what are you thinking? Our eyes are straining at all times for no reason whatsoever. It's just such bad design on the web today. And per se in e-learning and everything else, it's just like the design is going out the door. You need contrast. You need things that the eye can focus on. We were having this talk at work today that, everybody goes, wow, Apple has a Retina screen. Yeah, so does Samsung, and so does everybody else who has any screen with a 300 DPI type screen. Our eyes can only see up to 300 DPI, nothing beyond that. So we are right now at the limit of what our eyes can see as far as screen technology goes. It's really fascinating. Our eyes can see nothing beyond. You could put 400 DPI, 1,000. Our eyes can't tell the difference.
Rick, I think the other interesting thing about that is I know they've sold a lot, but I don't know anybody who has one, who can afford one at the moment.
Which one?
The new Retina display.
Oh, like the iPhone 4. Oh, you mean for the iMacs and stuff, the new iMacs. Well, they haven't raised the price on the iMac, so that part is good. I don't know anybody else who's doing Retina displays yet. No. I'm sure they're out there, but paying $1,000 for an Apple monitor to me is just highway robbery. It's a lot of money. Do you really get what the worth? I don't think you get what it's worth.
But I must admit, they are nice.
They are nice. They are nice.
Fantastic.
I have the 27-inch, fairly new. It's a 5-month-old iMac, and it looks great. It does. I still think that Windows does not render text as well as the Apple. Apple renders text beautifully. And Windows, even with the new accessibility features, is still, the fonts don't look that nice. So I wish you could change system fonts from the really narrow fonts to something a little thicker. Whereas with Apple, the fonts look better. Yeah, maybe the Helvetica is a little cleaner the way they use it or whatever, but it just looks a little bit better.
Well, a lot of them, were they not created for use on the Mac? I mean, there's a lot of applications that were Mac only for the creative side for years.
That's true. And now, I don't know. I really wonder if Adobe
would be the first one, I think.
Yeah, I wonder if Adobe sells more. I would bet they sell more Windows licenses than Apple licenses right now.
Possibly, but I tell you another great thing that Adobe is doing, because I think the web is, or the web was very limited in terms of the fonts, and they have a free service and they have a paid Typekit, the paid service, that you can get some wonderful fonts, and it's just a matter of copying and pasting some code, and most of their software now. They've got dialog box that you can just go to the web and choose, even if it's just from Google, choose the code and just paste it into your, and it renders out, and it's beautiful. It's fantastic. So we're not limited anymore.
No, in fact, on Muse, you have the choice of doing the WebKit. You have the choice of doing web fonts, the standard web fonts, which are like 16 or 20 fonts. Then you have the choice of adding the WebKit fonts, and then you have a choice of adding web-friendly fonts that may not necessarily be supported, but most of them are. And they're all downloadable right from Adobe. That's great.
Yeah, with Adobe Animate. So most of their programs are going that way. And the other thing that they're doing that I think is just marvelous is that they're building tutorials inside the programs.
Right.
They needed that.
Yes, yes, and that was one of the big things that we were giving advice on, because a lot of people, once you spent 2,000 whatever for some software, it's sort of hard to then just go out and spend all that money for books too.
Right.
So by having some tutorials straight inside, it gives people an opportunity to learn straight off the bat.
Well, I still think lynda.com is their official e-learning provider, and I think you get certificates to eLearn to Lynda when you get a lot of the Adobe content. I'm pretty sure they were the one who's the official right now.
Well, with the cloud, they've just announced yesterday that they've got training built into cloud, and they've got total. I think they've used Total Training. They've used Lynda, and they've used Scott.
Scott Kelby?
Yeah, they've used Scott Kelby also, and those videos are pretty exclusive. What they've done that you can't find them anyplace else.
That's great.
However, I've been up last night and today, and I haven't seen the training tab up yet. But I think it's good because I think regardless of what you say, regardless of what anybody say, video is the way,
right.
And to be able to see how to do things,
Well, it's funny. I got a note from Larry Straining, who a lot of you probably know in the chat room or may know when you watch the recording. Larry Straining is a training professor. He's a professor, actually, in Oklahoma. And he asked me what kind of camera to buy. And he sent me a little list of the Canon HF M50. This is cool. It's a mobile camera, if you will. I mean, all cameras are mobile, but this one actually has Wi-Fi built into it. You can transfer your video the minute you shoot it right to your iPhone, your iPad, or to your desktop, wherever you are. So your phone's instant. You can even upload it right to YouTube or something else, right from the camera, no cable needed. Now that's cool.
That's really
300 something, $30. That's amazing.
So that would be that in pounds here.
Probably about 600, right?
You're paying double.
They pretty much double it.
Yeah.
But
there's a couple different cameras that are doing that now. I think Canon was the leader, but I think Sony CyberShot does that.
Yeah, I think they do that too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The CyberShot. I tell you what's interesting now is that I teach, and I teach a lot of kids. And what's interesting is that everybody tells me that, these kids, this is the digital age, and these kids are so computer savvy. And if you put them to a game, yes, they are. But if you ask them to open up Microsoft Word and insert a table and format the table, give me a life. So it's really strange.
Chewing gum and walking at the same time is pretty difficult too sometimes.
It's a matter of priorities. And what are we saying that they're digitally literate about?
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that we've had to sort of educate our kids with.
Text messaging. The answer is text messaging.
Yeah.
I watch my daughter.
The phone. It's text messaging.
I watch my daughter send text messages with her husband and friends. My God, I think it's like 70 words a minute. It's pretty amazing.
It's wonderful.
And with 2 thumbs. It's like, how do you do that?
I'm jealous.
Of course, you realize by 35, 40, they will be completely arthritic and their thumbs will have frozen over.
We're all going to have bad necks from bending over.
That's right.
The Dowager hump is going to have a new name.
Oh, scary.
I do think that what needs to happen within schools, though, is that, a lot of people out in the field use Excel and use Word for, and now we got Adobe Story, but they use Word for scripting and use Word to pass on information. And I think what we need to be teaching in schools, and this is my personal opinion, but we need to be teaching in school exactly what's happening in the industry so we can upskill these kids so when they leave us that they are prepared to do what's in the industry. I think a lot of the stuff that we teach in school, to be quite frank with you, is just teaching to be teaching.
Right. It's babysitting.
I think we're teaching them a lot of stuff that just maybe teaches them how to learn. And understandably, not everybody know what they want to be when they grow up. But there's so many professions now where IT is such an intricate part of what you do that if you teach the basics of that and give them the little video skills, and to be honest with you now, if you got an iPhone, you can teach some serious skills with an iPhone.
That's
or
true.
Samsung Galaxy.
Yep, that's true.
And
where I live, we have state mandates for technical proficiency is built in along with math, science, and English. So students, even in the neighborhoods where budget would not necessarily dictate the best equipment or the best schools. They get technology proficiency, and the teachers are accountable for that, so that when they graduate, they have those skills and they can use them in college or in a job, which that's just been around for about 4 or 5 years.
Well, now in California, we really take the cake. We are leaders in failure. We are 49th in the nation in education. What does that tell you? Scary.
Your state is broke.
It's scary. They're broke, and
it tells me two things, man. It tells me that, well, it lends itself open to two things. It lends itself opening that maybe there's a lot of teachers that are not getting the training that they need.
Mm-hmm.
It also lends itself to telling me that, well, three things. There's maybe some teachers who feel that they're okay with where they're at and they don't need to learn.
Right.
And then it lends itself to maybe that financially there's not enough money to buy into the curriculum, which is necessarily needed.
Well, they have tons of money, but the problem is they have tons of money, but it doesn't go to the teachers.
Tons of money,
it doesn't go to the teachers. It goes to the administrators,
and
the legislature. So it doesn't really ever trickle down to the poor teachers. And then every time we do ballot initiatives, they're always saying, these are for the poor kids. We need to tax more. And it never goes to them.
Can I tell you a story?
Yeah.
I have a head here. She is outstanding, and I love her to death. I love her to death because she is just, she's if it ain't working, then you either make it work or maybe this is not the job for you. And she was invited to come to, she went to Tennessee. And, Tennessee has some issues there in terms of education.
Mm-hmm.
And they had something, man, like a 4-tier system where all levels was bureaucrats just getting paid, so none of the money that was there for the students are actually going to the students.
Yep.
That's hypocritical.
That's kind of like us.
Louisiana, it's the same way. It's worse there.
Well, I mean, I guess the best.
I don't know if Louisiana's worse than we are. I don't remember who was 50th or the worst. We were 48th, 49th, which is pretty bad. There were 2 states. I think it might have been Mississippi and one other southern state, but I don't remember which one.
Considering all the computer companies are based out there, it's kind of sad.
Yeah, it's insane.
That's another issue that I have, because I don't understand why, if these companies, they keep talking about not having the kids and not having the expertise to further their companies, then why don't they go in and teach these kids how to do things? Spend some of those millions of dollars that they're getting.
And there are some programs, but there aren't that many.
No, there's not enough.
Not enough. And you're right, because one thing we've tried to do as a company is when we can, we try to do internships. Mm-hmm. It benefits us because they don't cost us a lot. It benefits them because they learn a lot. Yeah. And when we usually tell them, if you're an intern with us for a year, they will come out with a ton of skills for production in whatever they're doing. And we have one right now. She's wonderful. She does a great job and has a good attitude, and she wants to work. And
it's morally right.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't say enough about our educational system in Wisconsin, and we can always do better, but I'm always willing to pay more money out of my taxes to pay for better education. I think it's important to do. These people are going to be running our government someday, and they're going to be teaching others.
As long as that
not only that, they're going to be taking care of you.
Yes, right.
Which is even more scary, So
no
we have
kidding.
a system here now that we've got a guy who's come in, and this guy is pretty much tearing up education in this country. And I sort of understand some of the things he's trying to do, but here we have a serious class system. And I think what he's done is he graduated from Eton or wherever, and he's trying to go back to his glory days. And I don't think we're moving forward. I think we're sort of moving back. We've had a lot of riots, and there's been quite a bit of protests here. I don't want this to get off into a negative conversation, but I just think that the people who are in charge, really needs to go, and instead of talking to all those schools that is right, it's working, talk to some of those schools where it's not working, and ask them
find out why. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I just think that's what we need to do because they will go in when there's a news, something to go on the news. They go into the schools that are successful, and we brought these kids from here, and we've done this for these kids. Yeah, that's great because you're pumping a bunch of money in there. But what about the school down the road that doesn't have that much money? The school down the road that has about 70% of the kids on free meals. What about those kids? What are you doing for them?
Well, there's an old movie, and you probably remember this one, with Sidney Poitier, To Sir with Love, which was an American professor who goes to teach in England. And of course, the problems that he runs into in terms of the kids are hoods. It's a rough school, and yet he cleans it up. I mean, this is one teacher, nobody cared, and he made a change and made a difference. And it was a great movie, and it's an older movie. It's from the 60s. And I showed it to my daughter and some of her friends. I go, look. And they kind of got it. They went, oh, okay, that makes sense. Because the kids were all like, I don't care about learning. I don't care about this. I don't care about that. And then he said, you're not going to act this way anymore. You're not going to dress this way. You're not going to be what you are. And what a difference he made in their lives. It's a movie, but it's happened in real life thousands of times.
Yeah. Rick, I think, man, and again, all this is my personal opinion, but I think what needs to happen is we need to get to a situation where we know exactly, and I know we don't know what's going to happen from day to day, and we don't know what's going to happen 10 years or 20 years time, but there are some standards, and I think we need to get businesses affiliated with a lot of schools and actually come up with some curriculum that's going to help these kids be aligned to at least do the basics.
Sure.
I just don't think that happens now. You can argue, people can argue with me as much as they want, but I teach in my school Monday to Wednesday, and I work in 4 schools here, and I work in schools that needs help, and it's not working, Rick. It's really not working, and I think a lot of the reasons why some of it's not working is because we don't have the people necessarily in charge who understand exactly what to do, to be quite frank with you.
Right. But you're right. Imagine if the schools and the companies all work together, companies would be assured of a good workforce when all is said and done. And that benefits everybody. The kids come out. I keep thinking, when I lived in Argentina, in those 3 years, I learned that by the time they graduate high school, they have jobs. They go through tracks in high school, whether it's business, whether it's education, whether it's arts, or whether it's science. But by the time they get out, they can get a full-time job making pretty good money. And then they go to college, and their college, when they graduate with the equivalent of our bachelor's here in high school. Then when they get a master's, or what they call a licensed degree, that is equivalent really more to our master's, and even then a little bit beyond that. And that makes so much sense. Give kids, here in LA, for example, or at least in California, we got rid of shop. So now these kids can't even learn skills to maybe become auto mechanics or anything else that they may not have done otherwise.
Yeah, because everybody ain't going to be the brain of Britain, as like I say.
Exactly.
You need people to run the world.
Yeah, exactly. And what's wrong with being in shop and learning how to do auto mechanics, electrician? We need those skills.
Yeah.
And
I just got a quite an interesting text from Sheena Wilson, and she
Sheena.
just said to me, a tweet. Students need to be prepared for industry demands. Teaching should reflect real-world skills and technology. I couldn't agree more.
Yep, and Sheena's going to be on the show in January.
Ah, okay. Please give her my best.
I will.
She's in the chat room right now, listening live.
Oh, Sheena, hi.
That's great. She lives in Victoria, Canada. So
I love the way she thinks.
Yep. Yeah. She's been on since before we went live.
Yep, great. Well, Sheena, we're looking forward to having you on.
Yeah, I'm following her, actually. I love the way she thinks.
We've been chatting just in the last few minutes about if we were to break through some of the paradigms that are in the educational system today, those would be the adults we would want in our training sessions tomorrow. Because bringing tech, when you were making the point about going into the schools and you're wondering if it's working all the time, Renaldo, that could change how learner engagement goes as students if we were getting better at this instead of kind of being happy with status quo in the educational system. And then I was saying how those would be the people I'd want in my classes going forward. People that learn how.
I'm not saying that we need to teach kids whatever they want to know. but it seems and makes sense to me that if a child is interested in something, if the teacher can make it interesting, if you can show them how it's applicable in the real world, interest develops. So therefore, kids want to learn more. It's the classrooms that I go in where the teaching is not, there's no real world context brought into the classroom on a concept. And that's why I have issues, because how, okay, let's say, for instance, we're doing, we are looking at how much a can of soup costs. We're looking at how much a book costs and this. So then how does that apply to me? How is that going to help me and my family? And I think if we look at teaching like that, I think when it's real to the kids, then they go out thinking, wow, maybe the spreadsheet will help my grandmother. Maybe the spreadsheet will help my family, And I think we need to start thinking like that instead of thinking about these flipping tests all the time,
right.
And it just drives me crazy, and then we sit around and we test them, and then they go into the world, they never use the stuff that they tested on.
Yep, that's true.
So just sorry, I just get so annoyed about the whole thing sometimes. I do, I really do. Because I want these kids to be ready to take care of me.
Rick gets wound up about lots of things, so this can just be one of them.
Oh, that is one of my wind-ups.
It's one of your main ones.
We're squandering generations for what? For test scores? On any given day, anybody can pass or fail a test.
Yeah.
So what does that prove?
And I wasn't a great test taker. I hated tests.
Prepped them for testing. We didn't prep them for life.
Right.
That's right. And you know what's happening here now? Is this guy who's coming in, what he wants to do now is he wants you to go 2 years, and after the 2 years, then take a test. I don't know any business that does that.
No.
Well, our tests are every day. They're pass-fail.
Aren't we supposed to reflect the world in which we're going to live?
Well, even in businesses, you more often than not now we're doing complete incomplete, because if you pass-fail them, you might get those records subpoenaed by a lawyer.
Right.
Wow.
So it's just it's called bureaucracy at every level of everything, and that doesn't inspire innovation, motivation, or learning.
But we do have some wonderful educators out there.
Oh, sure.
Man. We've got some fabulous people out there doing a fabulous job and trying their best to make sure that the students who are in front of them are successful. So, a big shout out to all of them.
Absolutely.
And my main issue, man, is when, as a teacher, you're in a school for 20 years, 30 years, and no one has told you how to improve.
Right.
Right. That's my big issue. So,
Renaldo, you and I were talking yesterday about this, that we all have people through the school system that were our mentors, people that helped us along the way, that were inspirational. I've had probably 2 or 3 that just really made a difference in my life, that I don't know what I would have been without some of those people helping along. And those people are priceless, and they were regular teachers. They didn't get paid any more for being mentors or being good. And that's what I love about people like that, who just give, and they just want to do a good job for those kids.
But the government takes advantage of those people because they go on goodwill.
Yep, I know.
And goodwill has never put one piece of food in my mouth.
No, that's true.
So we got a pay freeze here, man. For the last 2-3 years, where public sector workers and teachers, et cetera, are not being paid. But inflation has continued to rise.
That's right. Yeah.
The cost of everything is just skyrocketed. If I want to fill my car with gas, man, for a week to fill it up, it costs me $120.
Right.
So I don't see them telling me, "Oh, we love the job you're doing. Here's $120." But you continually do what you got to do because it's the job that you love. And I just think that sometimes they play on that. Like the nurses. Here they play on that. They play on that sympathy thing.
Sure.
And we need to pay people for what they do.
That's true.
Genuinely care about what they do.
Hey, Dawn, we're running close to the end of our time for the show. Are there any more comments for Renaldo?
I don't. It's hard to get from Melanie. I hadn't heard from Melanie yet. It's hard enough to get learning to stick. Why waste time or effort and brain power on info that will never be used? ? Test should reflect life. So she's echoing what you're saying, Renaldo. Questions.
Totally agree.
Well, it's funny. I remember when I was in elementary school through high school, I hated math. And it wasn't that I really hated math. I hated the fact that I didn't get it.
Yeah.
And then when I got in college,
Teachers weren't good.
yeah, the teachers were just boring. And I got into college, and I had one really bad teacher and one really good teacher. And then outside of college, I met somebody who actually taught philosophy, who was a mathematician. And
Right.
all of a sudden, my eyes just went ding,
Yeah.
opened up wide, and I realized, wow, there's a lot to math I didn't think about. And I started reading books on math, the theory of math, and I got into it. All of a sudden, math was fun. And I mean, I went through all the advanced calculus and everything, and I don't remember any of it right now. It's been so long. But it's fascinating. And when you start getting into it, you go, hey, I remember people say, if you shoot a gun into the air and the bullet travels at a 45-degree angle, and I would go, I don't really care what it does or why am I shooting a gun into the air? I didn't see any
train.
need.
Everybody had to train.
Yeah, I know. And I just didn't see any real need for that back then.
If someone is shooting at you and the bullet travels 25 miles,
That's different.
That's applicable.
That's applicable in very, very many places. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's different. But when it's out of context, and we were talking in other shows about this, context is so key to learning. If it's out of context, people don't relate to it. They don't know what to do with it.
Yes.
It doesn't mean anything to their life until they get hit in the head by it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you go, maybe I should have paid attention in that class.
Yes.
I mean,
it needs to apply. It needs to be applicable to what you want in your life, And I just think that we don't do that sometimes.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people who are doing that, and I applaud you. I really do. And I think you're wonderful people for doing it.
Sometimes we think we don't need it, and for a long time we don't, and then later we might. I worked in the decorating field for a while, and I had kept my high school algebra and geometry books, and I used every single one of those. Calculating angles and diameters and all of that stuff. So you never know when it might be directly applicable.
you still do that in your spare time, right?
What spare time? I have 2 jobs,
Rick.
working at 3.
Sir.
Rick, can I just say, Sheena Wilson and everybody else who took the time to come to listen tonight, I really appreciate it. And Rick, I really appreciate you giving me the forum to express some of my views. And I am just so pleased that I found you in my life, and that I have a friendship with you that I value. And I thank you for you being you and you being so real, man. It's really nice to meet somebody where there's no pretense.
I appreciate it. Thank you. And you're more than welcome. And believe me, you add to what we do here. So
That's right. Absolutely.
And you got to come back.
Oh, definitely. I like to come back sometime and show some of the stuff that we're creating.
I'd love to see it.
That's what I wanted to ask, but I knew before we went live you were having a little trouble showing your screen, so I didn't want to ask about samples, but I'd sure like to see some.
Yep. So we'll get that. We'll get that technical stuff worked out, and we'll bring it back on, and we can have. Yeah, because for all those who didn't know, we were trying to get Skype to share, and it wasn't working today. Sometimes Microsoft's doing funky stuff with it, so we're trying to figure out why it wouldn't share. So another time, let's definitely do it. Let's come back, have you share some of the stuff you're doing, and also go visit. And we've been showing your website. Let me show it again. He's got some good samples and some fun videos on his website. So this is www.rllearning.com.
Yeah.
You'll enjoy it. Good stuff there.
Thank you.
Did you have that avatar built for you?
My niece is, she graduated from art school, and she did that for me. And I use a program called, I've got it right here. I use a program called Crazy Talk Animator.
Oh, Crazy Talk, yeah, that's a good one.
But they have really upped the game.
Mm-hmm.
And they have one now that's called Crazy Talk 7 for the Mac.
Yeah.
That is fabulous.
Even better.
Absolutely fabulous.
Yeah. It's pretty easy to learn, right?
Sorry?
It's pretty easy to learn, right?
Oh, it's extremely easy to learn. I mean, I would say about 10 minutes out of the box and you're up and going.
Oh, that's great.
Really?
In the new versions now, the face recognition and the muscle recognition is great.
Interesting.
And you can add, if you got a puppy. I've just inherited a rabbit. Would you believe?
A rabbit.
I was in my house.
Silly
I was on the
rabbit.
computer, and my daughter came in the house, and she was laughing, and my wife was laughing. I don't know I looked on the floor, this flipping thing hopping around. So what I've decided to do is this rabbit has a lot of adventures in my house. So I'm writing a book, Ralphie the Rabbit, that I'm going to submit to the iTunes store shortly.
Love it.
But I'll make sure you get a copy of it.
That'd be awesome.
Oh, it's different. It is different.
That reminds me of the honeymooners. Hey, Ralphie.
Yeah, he has enhanced my life none. He's done nothing for my life.
None.
So,
We can see that you're in charge of everything at home, if nothing else.
let me tell you what. I run everything around here. I have no idea what's going on. You know what I'm saying? I come home and it's done.
It's called being a legend in your own mind.
Yep.
Yes, and that's a good thing. As long as you stay in your mind, you're happy.
I told my wife
right.
that. I told my wife, I'm in charge. She goes, uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
But you know what, Rick?
I felt good about that. I felt really in charge at that
Yeah,
moment.
and do feel empowered, Rick, because it's good. Because if you think about the reality of what it's like, maybe you won't feel so
Hey,
good.
I'll tell you, about 18 years ago, I told my wife, here's all the finances. They're yours. And you know what? It's been peaceful ever since. I just said, she goes, you know how to write a check? I think I remember. I haven't written a check in so many years. I barely remember.
Plastic.
It just works better that way.
Hey, can I just say to all you educators out there, that you're doing a great job. Thanks, guys. Thanks for making the world a better place. And it's because of you, trust me. You might not realize it some days when you're sitting down and you're marking all those papers, or you got a staff meeting, or you got parents' evening and you got an irate parent, but trust me, it's worth it. You made the world a better place.
And with that, we're going to say goodbye to everybody. And thanks for being in the chat room. And Renaldo, a pleasure having you on today. Dawn, as always. I'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was most interesting.
And we'll see you guys next week on eLearnChat. Have a good one, everybody. Thanks.